Chelsea, I got some news for you. You know, a few months ago, I was telling you that I definitely had a ghost in my house, no question about it. And one of the things the ghost would do is just turn on my ceiling fan in the middle of the night, middle of winter. I checked everywhere. There's no random remotes. I wasn't rolling over something in bed. And then it stopped. And I thought, finally, the ghost is gone. Well, now the ghost is back because last night, middle of the night, wake up freezing. It was what, in the 40s last night here in DC? And I listened. I'm like, is my fan on? Glance up, fan is at full blast. And I'm like, that's weird. Okay, fine. So I yelled at the ghost, turned the fan off. And then during this very show, this happened like half an hour ago. I didn't mention it at first. My fire alarm starts tweaking. You know what happens when it needs to be replaced? You need to put a new battery. It starts tweaking. One of the most annoying things that can happen. And I thought, I'm going to have to replace it. So annoying. I had a ladder, all that nonsense. Now it's gone. It stopped. Tweaked a couple times, gone. All this happening in the past, 6-7 hours? So I think I got a ghosty back in my house again.
Wow. Thoughts and prayers for you, Jenks,
Thank
as
you.
you deal with a faulty fire alarm or something that you just need to place batteries in. But we've known that you've had a ghost. I think we can confirm that there has been enough evidence for you to say that there is a ghost in your place. So we're going to go ahead and throw that to the side. Oh. Did you see where Vanessa Hudgens, an actress who also dates an MLB player, I will say that, she said she has the ability to talk to ghosts, and now she fully embraces it. And you see this picture, like, she looks kind of crazy, but maybe you and Vanessa Hudgens can catch up over your ghost experiences.
See, here's how this would go. First of all, she'd never date a guy like me. Number 2, I have a girlfriend. Number 3, I would say something like, hey, do you believe in ghosts? Like, I feel like I might have some, I don't know, funny spiritual activity going on in my house. And she would say, yeah, I talk to ghosts all the time. I would say, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta wake up early at 3 a.m. I don't know about talking to ghosts. I think there's a difference between saying, maybe some people have that ability. Have you ever spoken to someone in the afterlife or had any sort of spiritual experience?
No, Jenks, I'm not crazy. I don't have crystals. I don't believe in horoscopes. I don't believe in the planets deciding my fate. So no, I don't believe in talking to ghosts. I believe that maybe they exist, but I have not been blessed with the ability to talk with ghosts. And I'm not crazy.
I think the most spiritual you get as far as talking to ghosts is probably just shaking the 8-ball and just saying, here's the prediction here. You're not going to use a crystal ball, or you're not going to use any sort of tarot cards. You're just going to shake the 8-ball and see what happens, I feel like.
Yeah, and speaking of sports and ghosts, I'm trying to think of memorable ghost encounters. I think the most famous one is Sam Darnold seeing ghosts when he was playing that football game. So maybe he and Vanessa Hudgens should hook up and talk about their ghost experiences, even though his, I think, is a little different.
You know, I would have thrown a lot more touchdowns were there not ghosts on the field. I just want you to know that. My record would have been a lot better. This is the Daily Tip from BetQL presented by BetMGM. Coming up next on BetQL Daily, the Joes and Aaron discuss tonight's play-in game action. And if you missed our conversation with David Thorpe about the start of the NBA playoffs, download and subscribe to the Daily Tip wherever you get your podcasts. Yesterday was a disaster. We went 0 for. The only person that came home was Chelsea's bets at the Masters from 2 days earlier. So let's get back on the right side tonight and find out who we have the most faith in today.
Today's best bets.
Chelsea, we're going to start with you. We need a winner. Who you got tonight?
Well, since I did so well on my bets over the weekend, I feel like something cold is probably coming. You know how that is. If you're hot, usually a cold streak is on the way. But I'm going to look at the Astros here, laying the juice at -150. I think they're the better team. Looking at the first 2 games of the season, it is a small sample size, but the Diamondbacks have been one of the worst hitting teams in all of baseball, hitting a cool average of, I think, $125 as a team. And I think their one lone win of the season came from the hands of Seth Beer on National Beer Day, that walk-off home run, in which they were almost no hit. Yu Darvish had 6 no-hit innings. So looking at Luis Garcia, a guy that has postseason experience going against a lineup that strikes out a lot and is not great, I think he has the better matchup here. Madison Bumgarner is certainly a competitor. but he is also going against one of the best lineups in all of baseball, even without George Springer from a couple years ago, and even without Carlos Correa, and especially because he is a left-handed pitcher. The Astros have been great against left-handed pitchers. Last year, one of the best teams against lefties. So I think Madison Bumgarner is going to have a tough time against this Astros lineup. So give me the Astros minus 150.
All right. I may have to tell you on that because I need some sort of dub here. I'm going to go back to the ice here. I'm not giving up on myself. That's what you're supposed to do. Bet on yourself for your future, on your bets. That's what I'm doing here. Going back to the ice. It hasn't been great, but I feel like this is a pretty good spot tonight. We got the Kings and the Blackhawks taking place in Chicago. LA is minus 145 on the money line. Blackhawks are plus 120. Total set at 6. I'm looking at the over. And what I'm doing here, I'm not going to complicate this. I'm fading a couple of bad netminders between the pipes. Calvin Peterson, I believe, is going tonight instead of Jonathan Quick. Need to check that out. His save percentage only .899 this season. It may not even matter because the situation is even worse for the Blackhawks. They give up 3.51 goals per game, including 31 goals in their last 7 games. And they're starting Colin Delia in net, who has a goals against average of 3.88. The Hawks have lost 7 straight, have nothing to play for. Kings will be motivated. They're trying to improve their playoff positioning. Let's go an alternate spread here and go over 5.5 goals, only juiced to minus 125 at BetMGM. And let's get a winner. Oh, I see it right there. There is your version of a crystal ball, the 8 ball.
All right, so it's the travel version of the 8 ball. He has been to many places now. He is in Charlotte, and we are ready for him to get to work. So 8 ball, do we like our best bets today? Starting with the Astros. 8 ball, do we think the Astros win today? Yes, definitely.
Oh, 1 for 1.
All right, so now for me to remember what Jenks said. His best bet is not in the chat. It's not in the rundown, so you'll have to remind me.
Chelsea, what this requires is, I don't know if you're familiar with the medium of radio. You have to listen. All you have to do is listen. I'm going over 5.5 goals, Kings and Blackhawks. You know, I missed you for about 2 hours and 50 minutes, but now those feelings are gone.
Weird telling a woman to shut up and listen. Jenks, you and Cam Newton in sidestep
That's right.
today.
You need me to leave this show, Chelsea. Go ahead.
Did you even say what your play was? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I just said it, for the love of God.
So what is it?
Christ. Kings and Blackhawks over 5.5, juice to minus 120 at BetMGM.
Okay, Kings, Blackhawks over. As I see it, yes.
Thank God. You're wearing me out, Chelsea. Thank God the show's nearly over. All right, those are the predictions from the 8 ball, but I know you have at least one lean as well.
Yeah, I'll look at the Padres in the first 5 against the Giants. Yu Darvish, of course, coming off a very solid outing against the Diamondbacks. And I'm aware the Diamondbacks are not the best lineup in all of baseball. Tonight, he is facing off with the Giants. And first of all, that is a pitcher's park. Unders have been super hot for San Francisco and the Padres. But I think it's a little bit of a square play, but I think you take it as, hey, Yu Darvish is really dialed in. He has his stuff from the get-go. And then looking at last season, San Francisco only hit .203 against Yu Darvish. So he is pretty good against the Giants, even though it is a bit of a different lineup. So I will look for Yu Darvish to continue his success on the mound tonight, and I will take the Padres in the first 5 minus 110.
Got one little baseball play here, and I know you're on the opposite side of me on this pick, but I like the Yankees today. They're minus 125 on the money line against the Jays, and I'm well aware of all the success the Jays have had in New York. They're 9-2 in their last 11 in the Bronx, but I just don't know if I can trust Yusei Kikuchi here. If you look at his last 70 starts for Seattle, 15-24 with an ERA near 5. Meanwhile, you've got Nestor Cortez on the other side, made 14 starts last season for the Pinstripes. Really good during that time. Did some spot relief, 22 appearances overall with 2-3 with an ERA of 7. He had a start against the Jays last year in September, allowed 2 runs in 6 innings, scattered 6 hits, I just think the Yankees, it's a good get-right spot for them, particularly against a guy who has not been good over the past few seasons. So I'll lay the small number with the Yankees and go minus 25 or minus 125, I should say, on the money line. You got anything else, Chelsea?
Yeah, there's a correlated play when it comes to that Yankees game because there is a play for the Yankees I think is going to have a big day. I'm going to go Giancarlo Stanton over 1.5 bases for plus 120 just because he's been crushing it so far this season and he gets a great matchup tonight against a lefty. Giancarlo Stanton is a power-hitting righty playing in a short porch at Yankee Stadium. And he's cleared this number in 3 of 4 games so far this season. So I think the matchup is right. Giancarlo Stanton has been seeing the ball pretty well, hitting 294 this season. And like I said, total bases in 3 of 4 games has exceeded 3. So I'll take the plus money on Giancarlo Stanton. Total bases plus 120 tonight against the Blue Jays.
All right, Chelsea, is that your final play? Because I'm done.
I like the Clippers plus 3.5 as well.
Oh, drops in an NBA bet the very last second.